Hey everybody, welcome to the Head Startup. On today's video, I want to go through how to borrow money using decentralized finance, so everybody is able to understand how it works. There are a number of different protocols out there that allow you to borrow with your crypto. These include the likes of Blockfi, AAVE and compound finance. Decentralized finance is going to get more and more popular as people start moving away from the traditional banking system. The protocols I mentioned there are all quite similar in how they actually work. So for today's video, I'm going to use compound finance for my practical examples so you can see the nuts and bolts of how they have designed their loans. Aside from that, we will weigh up some of the advantages of using this type of finance against some of the situations where it is a little bit risky. If you have borrowed with DeFi before, please let us know in the comment section what your experiences were so we can all kind of learn from each other. So let's get straight into the video. So firstly, what is compound finance? Basically, it is a permissionless lending system built on the Ethereum blockchain. On Compound, if you own any of these cryptocurrencies, you can lend them out to other investors and receive interest in return for it. And on the other side of things, you can also borrow cryptocurrencies like ETH in return for debt. So this is basically borrowing a certain amount of ETH with a promise to pay it back plus a certain amount of interest. So how does this lending system actually compare to traditional finance? Because the lending system is completely decentralized, you don't have to deal with a middleman like the traditional finance sector where you have to go to a bank if you want to get a loan. This is great because your borrowings never have to get approved. All you have to do is put up a certain amount of collateral and then you are allowed to borrow anytime you want 24/7. And because the middleman is cut out, the interest rates are actually a little bit lower than they would be in the banking system. There are also no KYC requirements, so you don't have to give any personal details whatsoever. So let's have a brief look at the interest rates. I'll leave a link to compound finance in the description section if anybody wants to check it out. So as we can see here, the rates on the borrowing market are pretty good. If you look at Ether here, for example, it's in around 3%. And then if you look at, say, Tether, you're at around 4.5%. And that's the same for kind of USD coin and for Uniswap. Now I want to look at specifically at all the rules and how much you can actually borrow. Before we get started on that, I just wanted to talk about some of the wallets that are compatible with compound finance. So as you can see here, we have MetaMask, Ledger, Wallet Connect and Coinbase wallet are compatible with it. If you don't see your wallet on the list, then don't worry, there's plenty of other protocols out there that do the same thing. So check on the ones I mentioned earlier in the video and see if they have your wallet on it. Before I go through the practical example, I just want to explain what the collateral factor is, just so we are all on the same page. The total amount that you will be allowed to borrow will be dependent on this collateral factor and it varies from asset to asset. The collateral factor for Ether, for example, is 0.75, so in practical terms, what that means is if you put up $100 worth of Ether as collateral, that means the maximum you can possibly borrow is up to $75. So it's $100 multiplied by the factor of 0.75. The collateral factor is decided by compound finance's governance mechanism. So anybody who actually owns the comp tokens are allowed to vote on any changes to the lending system. So that is essentially how this lending system is completely decentralized. All decisions are made now by anybody who owns these comp tokens. You're now probably thinking to yourself, okay, so I put in some collateral and I get a loan out. But what happens if there's a massive swing in the valuation of whatever cryptocurrency I put down as collateral? As we know with cryptocurrencies, there's massive swings day to day, and some days you could be looking at 20%, 30% swings within a few hours. So what effect would all of this have on your borrowings? Now I think it's time to go through these practical examples just so we can see what happens in all these different scenarios. I hope you can see this okay, so I'm just going to go through it now step by step. As I was saying earlier on, if you want to borrow, you need to put up some collateral. So for this example, I'm just going to say we put up 2 ETH as our collateral. So 2 ETH, I'm going to say the ETH price at the moment, I'm going to just say it's $2,000 just for simplicity. And that gives a market value of 4,000 in total. So as I was saying also, the collateral factor for ETH is 0.75. So that gives us a total borrowing power of $3,000, which is the 4,000 multiplied by 0.75. And let's say I wanted to take my borrowings in a stable coin called DAI. So let's say I borrowed 2,000. So that is under my limit of 3,000. As you can see here, I have a margin of safety. So that is the difference between the 3,000 total borrowing power and the amount that I actually borrowed. And then I have put in here a debt to borrowing power ratio. So this ratio is actually very important. So how this is actually calculated is just simply the 3,000 borrowing power divided by the amount that I borrowed, which is 150%. Why this percentage is very important is because if your debt to borrowing power falls to 100%, then a liquidation is triggered. I'll explain what that is in a moment. So let's just say, for example, that the price of ETH is very volatile at the moment. So as I was saying, the price at the start there when I took out the loan was 2,000, and let's say the next day the price decided to fall down to say $1,300. As you can see here, my debt to borrowing ratio has now fallen down to 97.5%, which is actually below the 100% that I'm allowed to let it fall to. So what this means basically is my borrowing power has dropped. So as you can see here, my calculation has dropped down to 1,950 is the amount that I'm allowed to borrow. But as you can see here, I have still borrowed obviously the amount of 2,000, which is more than the borrowing power that I'm allowed. So when you owe more than what you're allowed to borrow, you are putting the whole pool at risk, and this makes it difficult for the protocol to make good on its interest rate payments. So to get around the risk of this happening, they trigger this liquidation. So as I was saying, once this falls below 100%, it triggers a liquidation. So during a liquidation, what they actually do is they sell off the collateral that you put forward. So I put forward 2 each, so they're going to sell off this collateral, and they're going to sell it off at a discount of 8%. So you're going to lose 8% of this value of 2,600. So what you would actually receive back is 92% of this $2,600. And after that, then the loan is completely closed off. But as you can see, if your loan ever goes into this liquidation process, the loan actually gets very expensive. So that's a fair chunk having to pay out 8% of what the value of your collateral. So if you are liquidated, it does make it very, very costly. So the reason for this really harsh 8% discount is an incentive for people to manage their debt effectively. So if you do take out a loan with one of these volatile assets, one of the downsides is you're going to have to be constantly monitoring it with the constant volatility in the market. So you don't really get caught out with this 8% discount. So what other situations could cause you to reach this liquidation limit? So in the example I used a second ago, the price of collateral dropped suddenly, so that was the second one there. But also if the interest on the borrowed funds keeps on growing and growing, it could accumulate over time. So I didn't include interest in my example. So that could be also a reason why you might end up hitting your borrowing limit. And thirdly, if the price of the borrowed asset suddenly shot up. So really these DeFi borrowings are kind of risky at the moment with the market being so volatile. But I think they will have a lot of benefit in the future when things start to really settle down and not have as much daily fluctuations by your 10 or 20%. So in summary, borrowing through DeFi has some advantages and some major disadvantages also at the moment. It's cheap, available around the clock, and you don't have to go through the same amount of bureaucracy as you would if you went to a traditional bank. But as we have seen, when markets are very volatile, your borrowings could easily go into liquidation. And this completely knocks out a lot of the benefits, and you end up paying a lot more than you would in traditional finance at the moment. But hopefully as the crypto market starts to mature, the volatility will start to decrease and make this more of a viable option. Currently, the main reason people are using DeFi to borrow is to speculate on the crypto market. But you can see how this will be a major threat to the small loans business that banks do in the future. What are your opinions on it all? Would you ever consider using it? Leave me know in the comments below. So thanks for watching everybody. If anybody is new to crypto and wants to start investing, I have some affiliate links down in the description section that will save you 20% on your commissions on Binance. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, I would really appreciate it if you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.